We are talking to a Fulani herdsman when we see how quickly the situation can escalate. An angry farmer has discovered a cow in his field. An apology calms the situation. We don't want to cause any trouble either, but sometimes it happens that a cow strays onto a field. Some of us don't speak English, they don't know how to react. Sometimes they just try to run away.
Nobody has the right to take the life of another man.
I am personally scandalized and embarrassed at the rate at which Nigerians are lost every day.
This large-scale bloodshed and bloodletting always have political, religious, and socio-economic causes and background.
Nigerians have been reacting to the Benue killings, calling for urgent intervention. In Lagos, residents want the federal government to be proactive in adopting the anti-grazing policy.
Insecurity, inflation, corruption, injustice, recession, words Nigerians have continued to hear and deal with day after day.
The killings, the mass murders, the genocides, the pogroms in Benue State, in Adamawa State, in Taraba State, in Enugu State, in Abia State, in Ogun State, in Oyo State, Ondo State, across board, Southern Kaduna, in Adamawa, everywhere, across the country. Those crimes and criminalities are not being perpetrated by herdsmen. They are being perpetrated by organized, ethnic cleansing mechanism orchestrated by nomadic ethnic militias.
Sounds of sorrow rent the air in Ethiopia East local government area of Delta State, as the home of late Mr. Happy Akpomiamian is thrown into mourning from his alleged killing by suspected herdsmen.
In Jos Plateau State, as 3 persons have been killed in another attack. 2 of the dead are siblings who were on patrol when suspected herdsmen attacked their community.
Attacks and counterattacks between farmers and cattle herders have grown worse in Nigeria over the past 5 years. Last year alone, at least 1,500 have died and more than 100,000 displaced. As the 73 victims of the recent violence are buried here, the Nigerian government is sending soldiers to stop the killings. At the heart of the problem is access to land.
Sometimes too, the people, once the herders bring cattle into farms, they attack them. If they can easily overpower them, they attack them. Maybe they kill 1 or 2 headsmen.
The herdsmen have just killed some priests and parishioners who went for their morning mass early today, and they were ambushed and killed.
We have about a 7 hectares of land destroyed by these herdsmen. So they've come and repeated it year before last year and this year. This year I'm losing in millions of naira. And what do I see? I'm a peasant farmer. Not only me, many others also were affected. So no food now. I even complained. I called to the Commissioner of Police office. He said, the answer from there was that I should consult, we should gather together with our Olu, go to the Oba of Akure, from the Oba of Akure, then we go to the governor. The sustenance is the most important thing. I have no food in my belly. My food has been destroyed by the herdsmen. Now you ask me to go from one station to another station. How do I be able to do that?
The clashes between herders and farmers have taken different dimensions. Property worth millions destroyed in deadly attacks and reprisal attacks from both sides. Many Nigerians have condemned the manner in which the federal government has handled the issue.
These militia herdsmen are armed, and as I've said, they have also killed even security men, not just the farmers. So it is a big challenge that federal government must step up to its responsibility and handle the matter.
Nigerians want the federal government and concerned state governments to live up to their responsibilities of protecting lives and property of the people of Benue and neighboring states.
Mr. President's appeal to accommodate their countrymen, not without adding that it would punish the killer headsmen. Will Mr. President's appeal yield any results?
The people of Benue are calling on the president to rise up to his oath of office.
Reassure Nigerians more. They can't be killing, in some cases, up to 100 people in 1 week.
However, the killings are rising in another part of the country, excluding the Boko Haram terrorism, especially in states and around the middle belt of Plateau, Nasarawa, Kebbi, Taraba, and so on, and even sliding down to certain south parts of the country and the southwest, have become a grave concern for the following reasons.
Our position on the killing of Fulani herdsmen in Benue State is very simple. It's very criminal, and they should not go unpunished.
More to that, I've often said in many of my interviews that if you want to do a business, you must be ready to make provision that will make sure that your business does not affect the business of others. Take, for instance, somebody wants to go into tailoring. He or she must know that you must be able to rent a shop or use the comfort of your room to do your tailoring business. If you want to run a taxi business, you must obey the laws on our roads in order for you to do your business. Also, if you want to run a livestock business, you must understand that you must purchase land to make sure that your livestock are well catered for, well protected, and well gated to the extent that it will not affect the next person beside you, perhaps that is growing crops like maize, pepper, and what have you.
Is it about the captain or the team?
Well, the captain was the one that was appointed. Let me use that word. He now chose his team. So it's the captain that will hold liable for any failure, either directly or indirectly. In the case of Nigeria is going through what we call the leadership crisis. Buhari has not really provided in word and in deed the kind of leadership that we expect that he will give us when people voted for him in 2015. The reality that we are facing today is the fact that there seems to be no amount of governance going on within the context of our country. And that to me is a tragedy.
I don't know why he's very reluctant in doing this. Herdsmen have continued to kill us from 2015 when this president was sworn in, or till today. Herdsmen have taken over those farmlands and are burning it down. How do you achieve food security with that kind of situation?
We thought in 2015, one of the reasons why Nigeria has booted out the former government was the way they handled the Boko Haram menace. And we thought that a man of a particular background, a man of a particular pedigree, would do a better job.
I never expected my brother to leave me so soon.
The wife of the deceased, who was attacked whilst working in the farm with her late husband and their 16-year-old son, narrates the ordeal.
When we look back like this, now we see the two are broken. One tall, the other was short small. So my husband called shout, "Men are run, no, now gun in the crack." So as they just pick race, now it's okay, make us still pick race. As I just the pick race, now I hear boom. I'll tell one brother, I say, "I beg, Aboki shoot me," and I never see my husband with my pikin.
This is what the once busy farmland now looks like. The rich land now lies fallow. The route to the farms completely abandoned for fear of further attack. The once busy market has become a shadow of itself.
We are living in fear. Everybody they fear. My people now fear not let them go bush because of waiting don't happen.
All we're after is do the job, get the job done, stop these killings. Because elsewhere, this problem will have been fixed. Solve the problem. Don't tell us that it is politicians behind it. Don't tell us it's my detractors behind it. Don't tell us they are not herdsmen. They are Boko Haram men.
And there has been no concrete effort from security agencies to secure our borders. The Nasarawa state government has always allowed herdsmen to use their state as a staging ground for attacks on our people in Benue State. Nothing has been done to be able to secure that border between us and Nasarawa State. As I speak to you, herdsmen are amassing in Loko to attack Agatu and Gwe West in Benue State. All we can say is that there has been collusion between the federal government and the herdsmen to deny us of access to our lands, to do the only thing that we do in Benue State, which is farming.
It's been all talk, all carrots and no stick, especially when it applies to the Miyetti Allah leadership. Because what we thought would have happened was that, just like Obasanjo did to the leadership of socio-cultural groups at that time, what he did was to take the leadership away from circulation and ensure that things slow down. This government has refused to do that time-honored thing of picking people up.
Or rather, has not.
The
refused is...
because it can still happen.
The southern region of Nasarawa State has again been hit with renewed attacks by suspected herdsmen. 32 people were killed in their homes and farmlands, and thousands more displaced.
And you keep wondering, why is it that you were able to go after Don Winnie and you got him, you killed him, and you could not replicate, you sent soldiers, DSS, and special forces or what have you. They went as far as Enugu to go and get him. So that shows that goes a long way to tell you that if we are determined to work, if our security agencies, if they are determined to work, they will definitely work. They left their search. They left the entire River State. How did they get to know that the guy was hiding in Enugu? And the same intelligence report that they use in tracking him to that place, they can't use to fish out the killers in Benue. That's why people are saying that it's like we are now in an animal farm. It's not sure whereby some animal are more equal than the other. Why can't you replicate the same method you use in getting the one within 3 or 4 days? The one was taken away.
3 of the victims had gone to fetch water in that stream, and while they were fetching water, they said they suddenly heard some gunshots. These same armed men had also attacked 4 others riding on 2 motorcycles.
By this news of an early morning attack on Kandako village today, which left 7 people dead. The attack, which is believed to be a reprisal over the abduction of some herdsmen and the killings of over 73 cows in the community.
And away from that, the Ogun State Police Command says it has put men and officers of the command on red alert to curtail the activities of marauding herdsmen terrorizing the Ketu border area of the state.
The killings in Benue State are becoming one too many. The state has come under attack by Fulani herdsmen who cast terror in the minds and hearts of farmers. Nigerians are embittered by the indifference of President Muhammadu Buhari.
The body of one of the 4 missing police officers, those declared missing last week in Benue State, has been found. The men were part of the mobile police team ambushed by suspected herdsmen during a security patrol and confidence-building exercise in Ayilamo community in Logo local government area of the state.
But lamentably, 21 innocent citizens were sent to their early graves on the Damboa highway. You are familiar with this?
That's the most dangerous highway in Nigeria.
Meanwhile, there are reports of tension in Nasarawa State following the killing of at least 30 people in different attacks by suspected herdsmen in some villages in the southern district of the state.
My farm
now when the car even spoil, destroy now, you reach 6 acres. Then now if there is the man stand there and the car they chop the whole cassava. If you read that way, tell them say why you can't they chop the cassava now, Mala? He said without pay.
Our farm, cow don't shop and finish. That the router, that on market when I even go self, that they take out they pursue me with my cassava.
From the market, the men of the village led us to the farms to see firsthand what has become of their farmlands.
When they destroy farm finish, they go light the bush by fire.
As if to lend credence to the complaints, here are herdsmen and their cows marching into Madam Dora Ogemoyi's 20-acre cassava farm in Oben community, even as she wails helplessly.
I don't get money, I don't get chop again. Now this one be my power. Farm be my power. Now farm be my power. I don't get anything. I beg me una help us. Now hungry we day.
Every day we day burial. Every day we day burial.
Well, there appears to be no end to the bloodletting in Benue State, as the state government says that a fresh attack by suspected herdsmen on Shihev ward of Guma local government area has left at least 10 people dead. Recently, the herdsmen and farmers' crisis has impacted negatively on its production, leading to displacements of many families, destruction of lives and properties worth millions of naira, including farmlands.
Wailing and anguish at the Bishop Moray Medical Center, Makurdi, as the bodies of the murdered Catholic priests, Reverend Fathers Joseph Gore and Felix Chiolaha, are brought in. The IGP's action may not be unconnected to the rise in cases of attacks across the country, particularly the attacks by suspected herdsmen in some north-central states.
It is barely 1 week since the president visited Jos, the Plateau State capital, to commiserate with families of those who lost their lives in the farmers-herders clash. But attacks on communities have continued in spite of assurances by the government.
Police have arrested 8 persons in connection with the killings of some 20 persons in 2 communities in Benue.
Yeah, the 8 are all herdsmen suspected of being among the attackers who targeted Guma.
Meanwhile, residents of Benue State capital Makurdi have trooped out in their thousands to protest against the January the 2nd herdsman attack on farmers in which 20 people were killed.
The UN delegation leave Agatu and head to the government house, where they are received by Governor Samuel Ortom.
The idea of coming up with the anti-grazing law was in response to constant clashes between herdsmen and farmers. And there's no governor who is truly worth his position, who will sit back and watch those killings continue.
Why I completely condemn attack on Fulani herdsmen and their cattle, it is not, for whatever reason, a license to come and kill innocent people who know nothing about whatever attack.
Nigerians cannot continue to die and we keep quiet. Something must give, Mr. Speaker. It is so sad. And we are just come here, debate and stand up for 1 minute. When a state is in a dysfunction, you better appreciate it and come to terms with it. You were here, you weren't there, we were here. And suddenly the Senate of the Republic was attacked.
The truth we must tell ourselves is the herders, when they graze their cattle, sometimes they trample on people's farms.
Yeah.
Sometimes farmers poison the cows. And when they poison their cows,
through the crops they eat.
Yes, they can easily poison. That's what gets them agitated. When they poison their cows and they lose many heads of cattle, they come back to avenge.
You see, these same people went to Abia State last year. They killed so many people, raped women. That has been their trademark.
That's why when people say Fulani herdsmen, I've been trying to popularize the idea of calling them the Fulani militia, because the militia is ready. It can be summoned at any time.
At short notice.
At any time. All they need to do is send the message across, whether it's from Sudan that they will come from, or Mauritania, they will come and then do the fighting. The people, the headsmen that you and I see, they are not the people who fight.
Yeah, no.
You will never even find guns on them at a critical time. And I said, look, call the stakeholders meeting. Tell them that you want a solution to these rampant killings. You know, that is the way a leader should do. And I'm happy that the president, less than 48 hours, in fact, less than 24 hours after I gave that advice, the president indicated his willingness to have that stakeholders meeting. When they went to Bachama, when Bachama, people in Bachama killed Fulanis, on this program I warned. I said what they did was irresponsible and that they should expect retaliation. But we've seen people now saying, oh, the Nigerian press, when Fulanis get killed, they don't talk. Where were you when we were doing this program? I mean, these things are on YouTube.
Lake community in Kwal district of Basta local government area of Plateau State has come under attack barely 24 hours after 5 people were killed, including a set of twins in a neighboring village in the same chiefdom.
His house and its entire contents have been reduced to ashes and rubble. Pastor Samuel Chukwuemeka is still struggling to comprehend the brutality of the attack at the end of April. Dozens of nomadic cattle herders attacked the village of Nimbo, killing 20 people. The pastor was lucky to escape with his life. They ambushed us and set fire to the house. We couldn't go outside because the attackers were still out there. So my wife, my daughter and I lay down on the floor so as not to catch fire. It was terrible. Since the attack, the village has been under heavy guard. The villagers fear further attacks. The attackers are believed to have been herdsmen from the Fulani ethnic group. For years now, more and more Fulani have been pushing into the fertile south of Nigeria from the arid north.
So these guys they came back. All their wives, their old men, and little kids had been slaughtered. Because, look, when you see pictures, as a tabloid editor, I saw some pictures of attacks in Plateau State carried out by this militia. Oh, my God. You will see that this is the height of wickedness.
Troops of the 707 Special Force Brigade reportedly engaged suspected Fulani militia in a shooting match yesterday in the Goma local government area of the state. Now, their suspected mission was probably an attack on Governor Otom's fish farm and other soft targets. 2 arrests were made.
A delegation from the United Nations led by the resident coordinator in Nigeria, Mr. Edward Cullen, is visiting Agatu local government area of Benue State. The visitors are here to assess the impact of herdsmen attacks in the area. Signs of the atrocities carried out by the armed herdsmen are visible, with many homes destroyed. The delegation drive into the Ayla IDP camp in Agatu with thousands of women and children trying to pick up the pieces of their lives. A nursing mother and others appeal to the government for better conditions.
Before we feed the way, but now, since we have Fulani call, it burn everything, burn my heart, it burn farm, we don't get anything.
As we speak today, in a village called Sokwa, in Logo local government, in the same Benue State, headsmen killed 3 persons. So these killings have not stopped. On the day the president visited Nasarawa State, in Obi local government, they went and killed people. It was on Tuesday. So these killings have not stopped. And usually what happens is once the press reports the killing of some people, whether they are thieves or Fulani, both groups will be looking for avenues for revenge.
But already, the same Yetiala had issued a warning in Taraba. You implement this law, there will be chaos.
This attack came at a time the morning mass was in session and preparations were being made for a burial ceremony. 20 people were killed, including 2 priests, reverend fathers, and 1 catechist.
Areas where people have found very strong reasons to suspect him of issues of sectarianism or nepotism. He must correct these things.
Yeah.
And this is another opportunity presented to him by the Catholic bishops. He must take it. He needs to take it.
Jide, the president insists no ethnic group or political zone has been deliberately marginalized in his appointments, made so far. And he says, give me a compendium of these appointments, and let's take a second hard look at it.
Yes, he made that promise, and even on this table, around this table, we've also talked about the need for the president to do something. I do not think that, for example, that it makes any sense to have a part of the country dominate the leadership of our security agencies the way we have now. In fact, it's a Nigerian record.
Yeah.
There's no time in our history that we had that. I've seen people talk about Obasanjo's time. Some people have posted some doctored lists mentioning, trying to give the impression that Obasanjo used nearly all Christians. Some of the people that they put on that list, like Adele Ganiu, Adele were Muslim. People like Anyila were Muslim. But
the Navy man.
Yes, they also conveniently chose to forget that Obasanjo also used a Muslim as chief of staff throughout his tenure. He used Muslims as national security advisor throughout, because after the former NSA left, Brigadier Sali, the former governor of Kaduna State, Abdullahi Seriki Mukhtar, took over. These were all Muslims, and his defense minister throughout was a Muslim. The gentleman from Zamfara State,
but
former military intelligence man, was Guso.
But did it matter then that these people were Muslims? What I mean, did people talk about them?
No, see, Nigeria is constantly changing. I've said it here before that there was a time when we had a Christian as number 1 and a Christian as number 2. That was during Gawan's time. Akintunde Way. Is it Akintunde Akinwale? Akinwale Way. And Gawan. They were both Christians.
And number 3, General Lekbo.
You see, Nigeria has changed.
Okay.
These days, you cannot try that. People's blood will boil. So the president can have a team in which, apart from the chief of defense staff, who does not have troops, and the chief of naval staff, that the rest are Muslim. Chief of air staff, chief of army staff, national security advisor,
head of police,
the head of the police, the national security advisor.
Paramilitary.
The thing is,
immigration, prisons, and all that. Yeah.
Even in northern Nigeria today, many people are angry about the domination of Katsina and the Northeast in the administration of this president. Today, Katsina are heading key federal agencies. There are about 10 of them, headed by Katsina people alone. There is NTA, there is DSS, there is NIA, there is NEMA, there is NIMET, there is MEDAN. Even northerners, other northerners from other parts of the country, from other northern states, they are complaining. So it's not even that, people from the south. No, because if you cannot, if a state like Kaduna will have maybe 1 or 2, there's no way they will feel comfortable with Katsina having so much. There's no way Sokoto will feel comfortable with Katsina having so much, because they all voted for this president.
Okay.
There's overwhelming love for him in those states.
Dari, would you think Mr. President will make these appointments, however skewed, independently of other contributing bodies? Would he do it of his own volition without consulting?
In government, there are a lot of factors that come to play. It is left for the man in charge to know how to balance these factors when decisions are to be taken. So if you want to blame Mr. President for this, we are not blaming him for single-handedly making these appointments. We are blaming him for being unable to balance factors and interests.
Especially the security.
Security in a country as volatile as Nigeria today. It is in this country people once voted a Muslim ticket.
Yes.
Yeah. Abiola can give a ticket. Winning massively.
It didn't matter.
It didn't matter then. But like he said, times are changing.
Yes.
We are in precarious situations and times. And what we now realize where we find ourselves is that everything like this matters. So we shouldn't have a president who will oversee appointments that are suspiciously skewed. Appointments that give people the feeling that are people planning anything against the rest of the country, or they are deliberately keeping other parts of the country from holding. When you have all the security chiefs, but two as coming from a zone or a part of the country in our own type of arrangement,
not good enough.
It is
not good enough.
It is a big threat. And we must always remember instances, things that have happened in other countries where they've been on this kind of journey. They follow this path of skewed arrangements and it ended in chaos. Rwanda is a good example. Dominance of one tribe by the other, then counter dominance after opportunities present themselves, then counter dominance. Eventually, it ended in serious crisis. The president may not take the blame of being the only person who did this, but he
has to take the
as the supervisor of the entire Senate, stopping on his table. Yeah. He takes the blame of not doing what he ought to do.
But let me reconcile what you have just said, along with Jide's,
yes,
to what he told the bishops. He regrets that the well thought out policy of the federal government, which was conceived after wide consultations, that's what he said, with stakeholders, had been largely misunderstood by a section of the public.
Maybe it wasn't referring to the security appointments. See, the first set of appointments that the president made at that time were heavily skewed on the side of the Northeast. And you want to tell yourself, is it because a lot of the people in this kitchen cabinet are from the Northeast? Then you have the chief of staff from the Northeast, the
chief of police.
At that time, the chief of army staff. We had the national security advisor, chief of army staff. You know, secretary of the government of the federation, INEC chairman from Bauchi, Mekanti Baru now, the NNPC GMD, also from Bauchi. So the Northeast has really enjoyed this administration much more than other parts of the country. So when you look at the first set of appointments made at that time, more than 70% were from that part of the country. And that will get people worried. Well, if the president is saying now that, oh, when they give him a compendium, he will be able to probably make amends. He has to make amends. If he does not make amends, people will see him as an insensitive leader. He has to make amends because the security, Obasanjo also talked about it. The president is unwittingly giving ammunition to his enemies by allowing this kind of aberrations to take place. So he has to do the right thing. Thank God, these clerics that went to him, they are his supporters. If it were the Khan people, the Khan people don't even want to hear about the president. But these ones are his supporters.
So the Khan people can't in this case. But again, there's a cynic who would tell you, Dari, How about the national team? If all 11 players come from the southeast, does it really matter? So long as they give us results. That's like wild thinking.
It's off track.
Okay.
You can't compare that to what we're talking about here. It is not.
There's even federal character principle.
There is federal character principle, 1. 2. In the national team, the national team is not usually made up of 11 players. There are reserves, there are other fringe players and all that. So
the people you see are those
are the 11 players. Pitch. That is not to say of the 28 or 32 that have been taken for that tournament that they are all from the south.
Even if they were all from that place.
And then it's about.
It is not federal character principle that is enshrined in our constitution. Has nothing to do with competitive sports.
And then the competitive sport is even guided by international norms.
Otherwise,
that does not allow such things to creep into.
Otherwise, if the world heavyweight champion is Akwa Ibom,
then
it does
a
not
Nigerian
say
champion.
The featherweight champion must be from the north.
No. If you are not strong enough,
you cannot. It's about skill.
Tyson. I like one quote from Tyson. He said, "Everyone thinks is good enough until they get punched in the mouth."
Oh yeah.
So if you are not good enough, and you get into the boxing ring and you want to fight Anthony Joshua, you kiss the canvas in no time. So that one's federal character cannot save
cannot stop it.
But in appointments,
where
the Constitution says that it shall be guided by federal character. And when we are talking about federal character, Citizen Jones, we are talking about states, not even geopolitical zones, because our constitution does not recognize geopolitical zones. So when the president is talking about geopolitical zones, they need to tell him that he was wrong. It is by states, the 36 states, that the federal character principle is talking about. So they are the federating units in our country, and they must all be represented.
The president shared a bit of his sense of history. He said, "Let me remind you, I have commanded 3 of the 4 divisions of the army in the country, Lagos, Ibadan, and Jos. So I'm familiar with the peculiarities of this environment." That should help him in the way forward from here.
Yes, that's what we expect him to now bring today. He should show us he is a general now. The generals
of the People's Army.
Of the Nigerian Army. He was a general of the Nigerian Army, and now
he should be the general of the Nigerian public.
Nigerian public now. In history, when you have generals as leaders during wartime, it is always
hold the country
together and advantageous for peace. Ensawa and others like that have been able to prove that. Now we need our general to show us he is a real general. Nigeria, or some parts of Nigeria, are drifting towards war. He must bring his experience commanding all these troops, all these units and whatever of the Nigerian army. Let him bring it to bear on Benue. Let them show his dexterity in handling military affairs in Nasarawa. Let the people of Taraba feel that Nigeria is being led by a general at this time. It is then and only then that I will begin to appreciate
his
generalness. That's my take on that.
Somebody called us a country of perpetual potential. Potentials never realized. Very, very disheartening. You're a Nigerian living outside, you look at what is going on in the country, and you marvel, how can this be in a country of very smart people? And my explanation, since I came back to Nigeria, is that Nigeria reflects how smart people behave in a broken system.
The governor, Samuel Ortom for Benue State, talked about people defending themselves by any legal means.
In Oyo State, Governor Abiola Ajimobi has ordered the arrest and prosecution of herdsmen caught with weapons, as the casualty amongst farmers has risen to 9 people.
A report compiled by SBM Intelligence says herdsmen crisis accounted for more deaths than Boko Haram last year. And going by the number of attacks and casualty figures from the crisis, that data might just be true.
Yes, Adamawa State, known for its large farming practice, has in recent times been the center of many horrifying clashes between herdsmen and farming communities. Now, from attacks to reprisals, both on the side of herdsmen and farmers, many towns have become desolate.
Indeed. Well, human lives, livestock and property worth millions of naira have all been destroyed in the raging battle for survival in the state. Even in the Vice President's recent visit and calls for peace from traditional rulers has failed to quell the ongoing supremacy struggle.
The President himself has always turned his eyes to the other side when it comes to making a national statement on herdsmen rearing. It's uncivilized. In advanced countries, civilized countries, they have locations where they keep their cattle.
Benue State is just a state. Nigeria is over 150 million. If the issue of Benue State should overpower the federal government, which means all of us in Nigeria are not safe.
They don't need to import grass like the other. There was a time they said they are importing grass to Nigeria with all the. Let them look for land where these people can graze their cattle, and the owners of farm owners can do their farming and not spoiling their farm and killing them also.
The anti-grazing law by some state governments is actually a welcome development. Let it be enforced so that we can have peace.
Government should be proactive in bringing policies that can at least, if not minimize, eradicate this problem. If that is done, I think we will have a sanitized system.
And the cattle and their owners became a veritable threat and a force for harassment in the last 4 or 5 years. At first, they would come in the night to drink water at the dam, and we saw the dam. I saw that they were there. You can see the cow shit there. And we were tolerant. They drink water in the dry season. But later, of course, the thing took a different turn all over Nigeria. They will come in the night, eat our maize, and go into. 3 years ago, I complained to the police more than 10 times because they were coming to destroy my maize farm. Later still, elements of the same people kidnapped me. When people said they were Fulani kidnappers, they said, "How do you know they are Fulani?" But I know everybody knows a Fulani man in Nigeria. The Fulani himself knows himself. He knows he's different from most of the Nigerians. He's easily identifiable. We are not children. And when they were tried in court, they said they are Fulani themselves, and 6 of them were sent to prison. So this hypocrisy of that is going on should stop. Now, what I'm trying to say is that I've been at the receiving end for a long time. After I was kidnapped, I was humiliated, I was macheted, I was caught. They came back and killed one of my guards, Ayo. His case remains an unsolved murder case with the police. They killed him and they took away his heart. They opened his chest and took away his heart. The double barrel gun, my hunting double barrel gun license, which he had, they took it away from him and killed him. And every year they set fire to my farm.
Maiduguri built Damboa Road.
Okay.
Anyone who passes through that road must have made up his mind to die, because Boko Haram fighters will come out from Sambisa Forest, because Sambisa Forest is in the area.
Okay.
And then they will start killing motorists and all that. They made all kinds of ambushes on Nigerian troops on that highway.
Let me remind you, it happened in Zamfara State, where the president himself, Muhammadu Buhari, had to visit Zamfara State. You can never see Fulani carrying gun. What they carry was arrow, cutlass, and their stick. When did Fulani started carrying gun?
I want to speak to every one of you and to every Nigerian. And I want you to hear this in the next few minutes. Take this message everywhere. I don't want any one of you Nigerians to be deceived by anybody. This year, is the year we must decide the fate of Nigeria. Nigeria cannot be ruled by the wickedness of a wicked leader. When the righteous reign, the people rejoice. Go and get your voter's card. We will not use AK-47. We will not use the weapons, but we will use our weapon. And this voter's card is our weapon.
Here is the emergence of a community of murderous killers and savage ravagers nomenclatured the Fulani herdsmen, and the heightening of their activities shortly after coming to power of the Muhammadu Buhari administration. I want to be very clear on this. Generally, before the emergence of the administration of General Muhammadu Buhari, there have been clashes. But the term Fulani herdsmen came into form of prominence as an identity of a body of killers. Whether it was a coincidence or not, that's the fact. And secondly, is the wide-scale atrocities of the said Fulani herdsmen against all communities of people who are agrarians and whose farms and homes and lives are destroyed on gargantuan scale gruesomely. The third is the baffling silence, indifference, and very low-key response of the federal government at the menace or to the menace of the Fulani herdsmen.
Thank you. Must also ask questions. Must ask people who live in other lands, how do you do it? We don't have more cattle than Sudan. Our neighbors, when it comes to livestock, these countries around us, Chad, Niger, Sudan, they have more livestock, and even their livestock are usually bigger than our own. Every year when we are doing this Ileya, this Muslim
travel
they bring rams from Chad. Oh, really? And their rams are bigger. You see the thing. And the volume of rainfall.
They don't graze.
Largely, they don't graze. The volume of rainfall in those countries is a lot lower than Nigeria. I gave the example of Kansas and Nebraska earlier in the week. They have more than 2 million heads of cattle, and all of them are being ranched. So, and they are very big. And you see, when you see a cow from Florida, you will know now that this is from Florida. They won't be skinny like our own. Very fat, looking well fed. You know, even you will feel like eating cow meat.
We have seen the federal government display its might and concern for security of lives and properties and public order in certain parts of the country, particularly the southeast Nigeria and south-south. Even very recently, as in December. The question I'm puzzled now is why the federal government is supine in the face of the atrocities of the Fulani herdsmen, which have led to the horrible massacres of thousands of people and displacement of hundreds of thousands of people from their normal abodes. Natural natives of communities in Taraba, Kebbi, Plateau, Nasarawa states and beyond have raised grave allegations of partiality against the federal government in its clearly tepid reaction to the menace of the Fulani herdsmen.
And the truth that we must tell ourselves is that the Fulani don't just set out to kill people. They will usually kill people in response to being hurt one way or the other. Either you kill their cattle by poisoning them, or you even attack them, kill their cattle, and kill them. Once that happens, they lie in wait. They wait for the opportune moment. And the way they do it, you will be powerless to even help your people.
This government is not known for taking action. They are known for making promises.
The first 1 year of Boko Haram, less than 300 lives were lost. Now, the first 3 months of over 1,000 lives have been lost. And it's every day is every day from Adamawa down to the southwest, Ogun State. That's what has been happening.
People will always tell you that the criminal elements have come in. But I dare ask, the Fulanis that we are living with, don't they know the criminals that have come that are killing people now? Maybe that's the question we should answer.
This is the violent attack on the people of Ogane Enugu in the Kina local government and Omala local government of Kogi State by Fulani herdsmen.
Again. And Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu must apologize to Nigerians for imposing over Nigeria. You know, these people gathered together and sold us a dummy. Integrity. Who is going to destroy every fabric of civilization of this country? I'm afraid of what will become of my country. And I don't want my country to be another Somalia. It's very clear.
These are headsmen killing people, taking over people's territories, and behaving like an army of occupation. And it's like they do not have any limits as to where they can go, even when they take over a community. Going to churches, 2 churches have been attacked within 5 days, you know. So, which is what is making some people to think, oh, they are probably not headsmen. Oh, headsmen only attack farmers. This is the height of ignorance. When they attack a community, in fact, there was a community that they attacked in Gwe West in 2012. They started from the police station. So are you going to ask me now, do they plant rice in police station? They first destroyed the police station. And people in Benue State know the story that I'm talking about.
Where in the world does someone sit down somewhere, an organization somewhere, threaten a government that if you pass that law, you will regret passing it because we are going to fight you? And they did. And we are in this country.
As we speak, information reaching us is that the herdsmen, they have now trucks, loads of people, their supporters, their colleagues, moving. Right now they're in Abaji and they're at the verge of crossing the River Niger.
If a situation calls for this state to raise any number of army, I don't mind, even though I'm getting old, commanding that army.
I am saddened. These are the periods we remember Gani Fawehinmi. These are the times, these are the periods we regret the early demise of Gani Fawehinmi. Quite unfortunate. And some of the idiots who parade themselves now as activists claim to be that Gani Fawehinmi was their mentor. Woe betide them. Anybody that claimed that Gani Fawehinmi was his mentor and is supporting a murderous, dangerous.
We've been having these killings. If it's not in the Agatu area, it will be somewhere either in Vandekia or Gwe West, because that land is fertile. So, and the governor was thinking, how do I solve this problem? It's the same law that the governor of Taraba has come up with.
Yeah.
Because they've witnessed killings and they are not prepared to let it go on. So you can't blame a governor for coming up with this law.
In one village in my place, they call that place Agatu. They have sent, Fulani have sent them packing away from that place. They have packed from that village. And still yet, now they are killing my people. It's getting too much.
The insecurity in Benue State as a result of the killings by headsmen is raising a lot of concern for Nigerians.
Woe betide them. Gani Fawehinmi is causing them from his grave. It's true.
Our position is that it's unacceptable and our government has failed in its duty to protect the people of these states, whereas the capacity is there. It's the lack of political will to do the right thing. That's the summary.
The recent happenings of herdsmen and local communities clashes in many parts of Nigeria is a source for serious concern. Many lives have been lost.
There was an attack in Mungono in Borno State We came here, it's not my area. In Chibok and Chibok girls, they are not my girls and I'm not from Chibok. In Dapchi and Dapchi schools, I am not from Dapchi and it's not my school. Mr. Speaker, they came to Bama. I'm not from Bama. Mr. Speaker, they come to Biriningwari. I'm not from Biriningwari. Mr. Speaker, they came to Mambila. I'm not from Mambila. Mr. Speaker, they came to Takum. I'm not from Takum. Mr. Speaker, they came to Agatu. I'm not from Agatu. Mr. Speaker, they came to Guma. I'm not from Guma. Mr. Speaker, they came from Logo. I'm not from Logo. Mr. Speaker, they came to Gwe West. I'm not from Gwe West. Mr. Speaker, they came to Ofa. I'm not from Ofa.
This government has refused succinctly to tackle the things they were employed to do, which is number one, security. The only reason why you are in government is to provide security, shelter, food, security.
And these attacks are many, they are incessant. It's almost every week you hear about attacks resulting to death and destruction.
Since 2001, disputes over land in Nigeria's Middle Belt have claimed over 60,000 lives. The herdsmen are believed to have killed thousands of people in agrarian communities, and these massacres in turn generated revenge killings. Now just a shadow of its former self, this village ruins still remain home to Kipenjiran Ture, a mother who lost her husband to the violence and who remembers the harrowing ordeal all too well.
As we were running, one of my children had a handset in his pocket, and I asked him to stop or else I will not move again, even if the Fulanis come to kill me, and that I needed to see their father. So when he stopped, I called my husband's number to know where he was, and the Fulanis responded in their language.
And it's a shame on so many so-called activists that Shueton calls Abobakus, who are now keeping quiet while Nigerians are dying. Exactly. Because they are taking, they have a privilege of taking the crumbs off the table of Asurok. I would never be party to that kind of rubbish, including so-called senior activists. Some of them prominent, some of them are lawyers. They are keeping quiet. Ha! And people are dying. What are you going to tell Nigerians?
In our country,
a solemn ceremony for victims of recent violence between herdsmen and farmers. As the dead are brought in coffins on open trucks, emotions run high. Survivors say the attacks were carried out by herdsmen.
I know the size of my state and what land is where. To me, there is no 2 hectares of land, that you can put as grazing reserve. So it cannot work here. The whole land is occupied.
But the herdsmen say the law was in bad faith, meant to extinguish their way of life.
Grazing is
the Fulani's legal right as Nigerians. That's the way they were brought up. When they insist on ranching, they should be provided with ranches. If there is no provision for ranches, how do you want them to live?
You see, what took place in Ekiti on Friday is really sad too, because our cows belonging to our members were shot when they were at the stream to take water by the vigilante called Antimalu. These guys came in 2 vehicles, attacked the cows, killed 5 of them, carted away with the meat. What kind of a law is that? So we are calling on the federal government and the security agencies to quickly act on these issues.
Efforts by the central government to demarcate areas exclusively for grazing is being resisted in some states. This conflict has been going on for half a century. With the rise in casualties and the scramble for land and water, many Nigerians say they believe the violence will get worse before it gets better. Ahmed Idris, Al Jazeera, Makurdi, Nigeria.
The Miyetti Allah further sympathized with the government of Kaduna State over the recent conflict that claimed some lives in the state, urging security agencies to do all they could to fish out the perpetrators.
Noted for its status as a major hub for yam sale in the country,
Zakivian was thrown into turmoil on Monday when attacked by unknown gunmen left 17 persons dead and several others wounded. Many of the residents who could not contend with the situation are living with a few of their belongings, while many shops are still locked.
Well, of course, it's a clear knowledge, it's an open knowledge that ex-president Goodluck Jonathan, two words define Goodluck Jonathan: incompetence and corruption. Simple. Incompetence and corruption. So Nigerians got fed up. So we needed a man of integrity. Not knowing that they were bringing to us
Buhari. Who? For that, how many times did I call you? When a Yoruba woman calls you 3 times, you know that there is fire on the mountain. So a pastor gets on the pulpit and says that your government is wicked. It's a lie. So the next thing, they issued this man's arrest warrant. I'm like, father, like what? Buhari? Oh, you ratty me. Who did this to you, Mr. President? How many herdsmen have you arrested? Tell us. How many herdsmen have you arrested? About 80 people were slaughtered in Benue State. Not only have you not done enough about it, but you didn't even care to attend the funeral. Who is advising this man?
We have had serial killings in Benue State. Attacks have been incessant, and so many scores of fatalities have taken place in Benue State. But the most horrendous, the most offensive, and the most unprovoked was the one that took place on Tuesday in Balom at St. Ignatius Catholic Church.
And then on top of that, you sent 2 trucks to go and arrest the pastor in the middle of the night. I'm like, why can't those trucks go after the Fulani herdsmen that are killing people? But
herdsmen under the aegis of Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria raised concerns over the recurrent attack and conflict in some states, despite the measures being taken by security agencies to ensure peace reigns among herdsmen and farmers in the country. National Secretary of the association, Baba Usman, urged the members to avoid all grazing restricted areas to avoid conflict with farmers.
When the wicked is in power, the people suffer. The killing that is going on in Nigeria, it shows the irresponsibility of the
What we are having is not herdsmen farmers clash. Whole villages and towns and local governments are being overrun, are being marauded, are being looted, are being destroyed by these nomadic terrorists. You know, if we don't quickly find a way, the means to stem the tide, to destroy this onslaught, we are looking, what is staring us in the face is another Rwanda, is another Burundi.